Starfish and coffee, maple syrup and jam, butterscotch clouds, tangerine, side order of ham. Let's get started.
Excellent.
All right, well, in the beginning, you may have heard my rendition of Starfish and Coffee. Don't know who it's by, but it's a kid's song. And I've been listening to a lot of old kids' music that I used to listen to when I was younger because I now have a kid, and music and storybooks are the things that keep her the most chilled out, or like if we're in the car, they keep her the most asleep. If we're driving around and she's kind of fussy, I'll put on a storybook and she'll conk out a couple minutes later, which is pretty cool because I get to relive my childhood via audiobooks and music, and it helps her stay asleep, and it's making her smart. It's adding to the think tank that she's got. Also, if there's little background screamings or background noises or whatever, neighbors are outside, and also the baby is now on a new cycle where she's back to staying up and only going to bed when we all go to bed. For a couple weeks there, we were lucking out and getting her to go to bed by like 8:30, give her a bath by like 7:50, 8 o'clock, and then get her to bed by like 8:30 or 9, and then she would sleep until 8:30 or 9 in the morning. And that lasted for a while until like 2 days ago. It changed, and now she won't go to bed unless we're both in bed with her. Even naps, pretty much. Like, it's hard to get her to even nap without Alex being home. So, yeah. And also, for my mom, there's our printer. My mom's been telling us to get a printer for the longest time, and we finally got one, and it works. And so now it's in my background. And so, yeah, there's magical printer. All right. So my plan is, with this podcast, is every fourth episode will be a YouTube video review, movie review, TV show review, something visual review. That was my mom's idea, and I kind of dig it. And so we're going to do it. So based off of the last episode the last episode about movies, where I was talking about the one TV show, How to Build a Sex Room, my mother has now watched it, and she likes it, thinks it's interesting except for some aspects of it. And the friend of hers, she has a friend of hers that really likes the show as well. Family friend, we've known them forever, super cool people. And that lady and her husband also enjoy watching the show. And I wanted to see why their perspective on it is different than mine. And my mom and dad's perspective is different from their perspective and my perspective. And my dad pointed out things that I didn't even, really think about, but it's a pretty fair point. So my mom likes the show, except for some things that I will just not mention what those things were. But some of the aspects of the show she didn't really dig, but overall she liked it, right? My dad tolerated watching it, I guess. And he pointed out that there is a through line of like kinky beating stuff, like kinky pain kind of stuff. Pretty much every couple on the show, she introduces some like handcuffs or flogging or whips or nipple clamps or stuff like that, I guess. And that is an interesting thing to offer to everyone. The other couple, I talked to the woman, and she was saying that she likes it because her and her husband have been married for like 40 years. And so they grew up in a time where talking about sex and stuff wasn't really a thing, really, at all. Like my parents too. But obviously different upbringings and different things that families are comfortable talking about. They didn't really get to talk much about sex and kinks and whatever, even though I'm sure all of that has been a thing for forever. So her and her husband enjoy it because it brings up new, ideas and new questions and things they can talk about. And after 40 years of marriage, she said that you kind of have figured out a lot of stuff versus being only together for a couple years versus being together for only a couple months, and obviously the longer you're together, the more you're going to learn about each other, because that's what happens when you're a couple. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'm sorry for all the hair stuff. I can't decide if I want my hair up or down. I'm sweaty, it's hot, but I've got the fan going, but I feel like my hair has been up in every single episode, but also I can't decide, so I think I'm just going to put it up. But also I might just wait. So yeah. But she was talking about how it's cool because it brings up things that they didn't even think about or things they didn't know about or, possible interests. And for my parents, I'm sure it's the same thing, Personally, I just still don't like it. It's still just not really my jam because the through line of kinky pain isn't really it for me at all. Before I started doing the deed, I definitely was like, yeah, I could be kinky. Yeah, for sure. That's hot. But dumb didn't know myself really at all yet. And now I'm like, yeah, just stuff like that. I'm good. I'm cool. I'll do what I like to do, And I'm not going to say what I like to do because that's my personal business. And I already feel awkward enough talking about it as much as I have, which isn't even that much. So, the hair is going up now. And I was trying to think of other TV shows and other things that I could watch that would be interesting to talk about. And my older sister sent me some Instagram things or YouTube things or whatever the heck about this girl who's like faking a disability, which I've heard is a thing that there's people on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff that fake Tourette's syndrome and fake other stuff, other mental problems as well. There's a lot of shit like that, so I'm sorry, but who cares? This lighting's super bomb. Okay, massive spoiler alert warning. Like, super massive. I forget to say it before everything. So, pretty much this entire episode is a whole spoiler alert for a bunch of shows. So, watch it because it's really good. But then also, but also spoilers. So, I don't know. Watch it, please. But also, if it's any of the shows that you would want to watch, don't watch a lot of it. I remember to say spoiler alert, but after I've already said some stuff. So just want to put that out there. Okay, that's all. Bye. I'm also now editing in bed because the baby needs to go to bed. I say words that trigger people, so trigger warning also. Just want to put that out there. Okay, bye. And yeah, I didn't really watch anything else other than, didn't watch Game of Thrones, but my fiance and I did just finish House of Dragons, which I guess, if you're going with the timeline, apparently that's set like 300 years before the Game of Thrones thing even happened. So technically I'm watching in the correct order, However, tried watching Game of Thrones pre-baby. Now that I have a child, for sure, no, definitely can't watch it. Like, I know in my heart of hearts, I could not sit through watching that show. I know everybody's like, oh, but there's this cool scene, and oh, there's these cool things, and the graphics, and the visuals, and the blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but the mass incest, and the rapings, and the underlying evilness to that show, and the overlying evilness to that show, I'm just like, no, can't do it. Pre-baby, tried watching it, first episode, gets to the famous rape scene and can't do it. Shut it off. Couldn't do it. Just like sitting there intentionally watching something like that happen where the female actress had to put herself in the mindset to portray that was happening to her, and then the male actor was acting like he was just doing it because that's what you do. Couldn't do it. Felt super yuck to me. And hopefully felt yuck to a lot of other people. But I don't really know. So, Game of Thrones definitely can't watch. Couldn't do it. No. The House of Dragons, though, hasn't been rapey yet. And it feels fucked up to say that, but it hasn't been yet. There hasn't been any of that in this first season. And yes, we did watch the whole season. There was there was a scene in the first episode that was pretty sad. It made me want to go cuddle with my baby. And I will try my best not to do spoilers, but I'm going to be talking about the show. So if you're going to watch House of Dragons and you don't want spoilers, skip ahead. I'll put a timestamp, hopefully, to where I stop talking about it, but I'm pretty sure I'm just going to be talking about it, and there's going to be a lot of spoilers. So feel free to not watch the rest of this, but, if you're on YouTube, give it a thumbs up, maybe comment, let me know stuff to watch, good stuff, bad stuff. I'm into terrible movies or bad TV shows, so let me know. And, here we go. Game of Thrones, House of Dragons stuff. So, the thing about that show is the kings and queens and all of that stuff, like the throne stuff and whatever, like all of that's pretty interesting. The gore is pretty intense. Like there's one scene in the last episode where someone gets their face punched in and then they show the face after it has been punched in and like completely demolished, and it just looks like super real. The second it flashed on the screen, I looked away, and I guess it stayed on that image for a little while. So I'm glad I looked away, because I still, like, for the past 2 nights, I've seen it in my head, when I'm going to bed. Luckily not the whole night, but it's like flashes in my head. I'm like, ugh, gross, like it just looked really real. And I'm sure they had reference pictures probably, or at least somebody, did a good job at making it look real, So that was pretty gross. And then there's like, people get an axe thrown to the face and they show that and whatever. But it's a really interesting story and it's pretty good and I like it. The fucked up thing about it, though, also pardon the profanity, I'm sorry. The fricked up thing about it is that when the main character, super mega spoiler alert, when the main character, you're expecting it, but also spoiler alert, when the main character and her uncle, he takes her on a walk through the city for a night of fun and freedom and whatever. Then they go to like a whorehouse, and then there's like a whole montage of him like doing her, and then he like leaves because she tried to kiss him, I think is what pissed him off. And then which gross, she tried to kiss him and then he ran away, and she was bummed out and was like, no, wait, come back. And so then she chased after him, and then this little servant boy, the total spoiler alert, servant boy saw her and then went and reported to the king's hand. So it's like this whole, obviously you're expecting it to happen because everybody knows who the princess is, right? Like everybody knows who the princess is. Everybody knows who the bad uncle is. So obviously they're gonna get caught. You feel me? Like, duh. A perv would be like, that's the hot part of it, though. I guess I'm the perv because I said it. But yeah, so she's chasing after him and is like, oh no, don't. Oh, why'd you feel bad? Don't feel bad. And I was thinking after we watched the show, I was like, well, I mean, like there wasn't that much gross stuff, and that was like, like not really even that bad of incest. And that thought, the second I thought it, made me feel super icky. I wanted to like wash my whole body out with mouthwash, because ew, that I thought that thought in my own head of thoughts, like, ugh. I guess that's the whole point of the show, though, is to make you be like, psst, but like, it's only her dad's brother that she's doing it with willingly and knowingly, and knows who he is, and then tells him, you should just take me away to the other island and make me your wife. At the end of the episode, super bad spoiler alert, sorry. Like, really? Head scratch. Made me feel yucky. I made a nice Earl Grey tea earlier, and then I threw some ice in it because it was way too hot, and so then I made it iced Earl Grey tea. Added a little bit of cream. Oof. Earl Grey with cream is delicious. Delicious. But that's a total side note. So, yeah. House of Dragons, interesting show. Except for that part. Which didn't make me feel that good to think that. You know? But then we cleanse with Love on the Spectrum. So, that kind of, I guess, balances it out. Which still feels weird to say and bad to say. You know, like that. That's the whole. Okay. Brain fart right there massively. The whole point of those shows, I think, like everybody's like, oh yeah, they're artistic and oh yeah, they're so this and oh the storyline and blah, blah, blah. Like that's not, it's a fake show. Like, yeah, there were kings and queens and I'm sure stuff like that did happen to carry out the house's power or whatever, or if that house was getting weak, then they'd marry to be strong, and if it just so happened to be a cousin or whatever, then like, oh, whatever, keep it in the family, you know? But the fact that Game of Thrones is like, that is the pinnacle of the show, is the raping and the incesting, and then like barely any dragons apparently until like a way longer down the line of episodes. Again, never watched it, so I don't know. But I just think it's like, the point is for it to make you go, well, that's not that bad of incest, or watching an entire raping scene. Also, sorry I'm saying that word so much. I know that that's like a thing, like a trigger for people. So I will definitely put like a trigger warning on this episode because I've said that word a lot. Sorry. But it's true. You watch effed up things, then you're gonna talk about the effed up things and the effed up things that you watch, you know? So, yeah. But Love on the Spectrum is good and makes you feel good and makes you smile and makes you laugh because it is very adorable, very wholesome, pure show. It's very, very cute. Oh no, the baby is crying. Is she okay? I just went on Instagram to like get like an idea for something to talk about, because I got distracted with the baby crying, and now the baby's in the bath with Alex, and so now I'm back. But I went on Instagram real quick just to like get an idea. And do you know how much like sex related jokes I saw in the feed of pages I don't even follow? A lot is the answer. A lot. Okay? Sick of it. Someone I was talking to today said that they don't even have social media anymore. And you know what the gross thing is that I'm like, yeah, I wish I could do that. And I could. I so could. I could delete my accounts. I could delete the app. All I have is Facebook and Instagram. I don't even really go on Facebook, but my Spotify is connected to it, so that's why I've kept it. But Instagram, I go on kind of way too much. And I really hate it. And I don't want to delete that app, which bums me out when I say it, you know? Like, it makes me go like, damn. Really? All you gotta do is delete it, not go on it, you know? So, maybe I'll set like a screen time lock thing on it. Because you can do that for kids. You can set like a screen time restriction thingy. So maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll do that and make Alex make the password so that I don't know the password so I can't go and unlock it. Right? That'd be good. That'd be using the old brainy poo. Yeah. So, if you're looking for a show to make you feel good and make you go, oh, that's so cute, and make you laugh, Love on the Spectrum, for the bajillionth time, I feel like, is so good. It is so, so cute and super awkward sometimes. And it's funny because it also makes you realize dating for quote-unquote normal people, dating for people not on the spectrum could be so relatively simple compared to how we make it, you know? Like there's a girl who goes on a date with a guy and she just tells him, I just don't think that we should keep going out for dating, but we can totally be friends. And the other person was like, yeah, of course. I wish you the best. And of course we'll be friends and stay in touch. And it's just so, like, that's so sweet. That's all it's got to be, you know? That's all it's got to be. And then they came out, and that one's in Australia. And so then they came out with a version of the U.S., right? And there's this one girl on there who goes on this date with a guy and they kiss on the first date, which she liked, but then also after the date felt really dumb about. I sneeze in multiples. I'm very sorry. I don't sneeze just once. Ooh, that made me like dizzy. Wow. So anyways, so they made a version of the show in the US. Girl goes on a date with a guy. She really likes his style, likes the way he looks, easy to talk to for her, and they kiss on the first date. And then she doesn't feel that good about it. And so then they go on a second date and she's like, I'm not going to kiss him on the second date. We're just going to take things slow. And so she tells him that she wants to take things slow. And then they end up kissing on the second date, which she, again, was happy about in the moment. But then after the date, like a couple days later, whenever they came back to ask her how the date went, she wasn't too happy that they kissed. So she called him because she didn't want to keep on dating him. Because she felt bad about the dating thing, and then also she felt like she had her life more together and ready to go than him, so she wants to be with somebody who's on the same level, which is completely understandable. And also, sorry, spoiler alert for this part as well. Spoiler alert. Yeah, should have said that before. I'm not good at that. So anyways, she, spoiler alert, calls him and tells him that she thinks that they shouldn't be dating romantically anymore and that they should be dating as friends, and she's really thankful for him and whatever. And he totally gets like mad at her, and he's also on the spectrum. Some of the people date people that aren't on the spectrum, and some of the people date people that are on the spectrum because they feel like it's easier to be with somebody who can understand their disability, quote unquote disability. I don't think it's a disability. I just think it's I don't know what I think it is. I don't think it's a disability though, you know? So this kid's also on the spectrum, and he gets super upset and is like, you can hear it because he's on speakerphone. You can hear he's like, you're playing me and you played me, and are you serious right now? And gets all like totally emotionally super bummed, you know, and upset and like mad at her. And I think it's really funny because the opposite ends, you know, you've got the people over here who are like, of course we can be friends and best of luck to you and I hope you do well. And then you got the people over here who I think it kind of makes more sense that they're American, you know, getting all butthurt and upset. And then she goes and tells her family, I had to break up with him. And her mom or aunt or whoever is like, you didn't break up. You guys went on 2 dates. That's not a breakup. You were just telling him you don't want to continue dating. That's completely fine and completely allowed. You weren't breaking up with him. And she cried and felt really bad about it. And I was just like, that's really interesting that the foreigners to us, the foreigners were, yeah, of course, you know, live your best life. Good luck to you, blah, blah, you know. And then the American people are like all, you played with me and you played with my heart and getting all like upset and worked up, you know? And then it makes me think like, I guess that does happen kind of often when you're dating, right? If one of you isn't feeling it and the other one thinks it's going really well, and then you go, hey, I don't think we should keep dating, and then they get all butthurt about it. It's just interesting. It's like, it could just be, all right, yeah, I get that. Well, best of luck to you, you know? Because you don't want to end up with somebody who doesn't want to be with you. And you don't want to end up with somebody who's not fit for you, you know? Like, you want to find your match. I think that's the point, is to find your match, you know? Alex pisses me off plenty every now and then, you know? And I love him even then. I love him even then. He pissed me off today. That's why I say that. I got mad. He pissed me off today. Justifiably, but I'm not going to get into that because it's just a dumb couple fight kind of thing. But it's not even a fight. He's like, yeah, I was wrong. So that was cool. He's a cool guy. He's a good guy. I love him. The other night we were hanging out, and he and we had this ball that you use for like batting practice, and so it's like this hard ball. Sorry, there was something in my eye, and then Alex started choking, and then whatever. So I'm back. So he has this ball that he uses to roll out the knots in his shoulders or whatever. And so he was throwing it back and forth in between his hand. I was like, this is a good way to practice hand-eye coordination, and it's also a good way to keep up. If you have hand-eye coordination already, it's a good way to like keep it up. So we're throwing it back and forth, and then I try, and then he tries, and then I try. And he's like, oh, I can spin that on my finger. I know how to spin the ball on my finger. And I was like, really? Because it's like, you know, it's like that big. It's small. It's not huge. And I was like, show me. And so he goes, okay, here. And so he hands me the ball. This is the ball. And he goes like this. And then starts cracking up. And for those of you listening, what he did was he pretended to spin the ball on his finger and then flipped me off. And then started laughing. And then I started laughing because I thought that was hilarious. Because it was, it was very, very funny. And it just made me think, I was like, you know, I'm glad that I'm with somebody that I'm like friends with, you know, like it's cool to be like with someone that is like my friend, you know, and like we can be romantic and cute and sexy and whatever together, but then also we can be like jokey and playful and, you know, kind of like you know, like verbally, I guess, shove each other, you know, like when you're little and you like somebody and you shove them, you know, because you think you're cute. Yeah, it's just, it makes it fun, and it makes me very happy to have him in my life. And it's very cool to have him be our baby's dad, because he is just he's so fun with her. And I feel like once she gets bigger, which I totally can wait for, people are like, oh, I can't wait until, and I'm like, I can wait. I can wait as long as it takes, for sure, for her to get bigger. But once she gets bigger, I feel like it's just going to be so much more fun to see him be a dad to her, you know, and to any kids we have in the future. I think it'll just, he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and I'm in love with him, and I love him. So, love fest. I feel like I have a little love fest about Alex every couple of episodes, if not every episode. It might be every episode. I don't know. But yeah, love fest. And then also on a total other side note, I just thought of how I come up with the podcast names, and I'm trying to think if I say anything now at the end that might be the name, and it might just be Love Fest. That might be the name of this episode. It might be Love Fest, you know, because that's said it a bunch of times. But I also might name it Trigger Warning, because there are lots of trigger words. But then I also might name it Spoiler Alert, because this entire episode pretty much is a spoiler for like a billion shows. So, who knows what I'll do? Who knows what the name of this one will be? But I feel like this one's going to be a little bit shorter because baby's on the new sleep schedule, so she won't go to bed without all of us. She's in the bath, and they've been in the bath already for like 10 minutes maybe, and she's starting to get fussy. And once she gets out of the bath, she's going to want to have some boobie and go to sleep. And I don't want her to be crying her head off, because that's what she does. So I'm going to wrap it up. Sorry that this was a short one, Faith. I know you love listening to me. Little shout out to the old homie supporter. Can't wait to have you on the show. So, yeah, get ready to get famous. No, I'm just kidding. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will have more next time. And if anybody has any TV shows or movies or YouTube clips or weird podcasts or whatever, just something interesting, let me know. Comment it down below. Give a like. And I will see you all next week. Have a great evening. And I'll see you next time. Over and out, y'all. Bye.